All right. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be a class on how to do a buyer consultation, the Team TMG way. And with me today is Chris Fiamengo, our team leader. And rather than just go through the slides and kind of presenting the buyer consultation like we've done in the past, there's 2 videos already on YouTube where we've done that. It is important to kind of always look for the freshest one, I think, just so that you can see how the market is doing. There's a little bit of variation in how you'll do the consultation, but we want to kind of go through each slide and just talk a little bit about, what we're trying to do there so that we can help new agents, sound good on a buyer presentation. So welcome, Chris, and everybody else.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Okay. So, Chris, we got our first little screen here. I think before we really dive into it, let's just kind of talk about this is just a PowerPoint slide, right? The reason we chose PowerPoint is because everybody has PowerPoint, so it's customizable to you as an individual. And I think it's important that you do customize it. And there's a couple of screens where it's pretty much crucial. So it's really easy to do, and it will work on your PC, which is great for Zoom. I think most buyer consultations are probably the preferred method is a 15-20 minute Zoom call. And it's real easy to operate, but it'll also work on your pad, your tablet, and or your laptop if it's necessary. I do want to caution against using the laptop if at all possible, because that does set up a very small viewing area if you're in person, and it will sort of dominate the attention of the buyer. They'll be looking at your computer the whole time. Whereas with the pad, I can use it just more as like a cue system and a visual, and still maintain a real good flow of conversation. But with the Zoom, you're kind of stuck with that anyway. So, but anyway, so it's just a PowerPoint, and so you can come in. It's easy to customize. If you don't know how to use PowerPoint, there's a bazillion tutorials on how to do that, and we can also help you as well. So Chris, on this first slide, do we do anything with this?
So I usually just kind of intro here a little bit about what we're going to talk about. That being said, I think the in-person, if you can get them to commit to in-person, it's the most powerful. You're probably going to, no matter what, convert that person into a buyer that you'll see through to, closing. But, Zoom is the next best. And, hopefully the night before, at the very least, you've given a intro email, inviting them to the Zoom. So what I do is a Zoom link separate from this intro email that has a little bit about me. So I put my About Me video there, link to my Google business site, the Madrona Group website, so they can kind of review our profiles and reviews and things like that. And then also attach this very presentation on that email. So it's kind of like a pre-buyer's consultation intro. So they have, sometimes if they have enough time, they've already kind of gone through this, they've skimmed through. So this is just kind of what we're going to do is go through a little bit about the market, the buying process, catch you up to speed on what's going on there, and then really dig deep on your wants and needs. And then I launch right into it.
Perfect. I mean, a lot of us have heard of the pre-listing packet, right? Which is the information we send to sellers before our meeting. But how many people are doing a pre-buyers packet? That's not being utilized out there, I guarantee you. And that is going to really set you above and beyond, right, in the sea of real estate agents. And we're always wondering, how do I stand out? Well, it's stuff like that. So awesome stuff from Chris. Thank you. Okay, so you get started, you get them into the presentation, whether you're doing it live or on Zoom or whatever suits you best. The important part is that you are here and you are, with this potential buyer, and now it's your time to shine and show them your value. So this is sort of the first slide. And so what do you talk about on this one, Chris?
So, I'd like to hear what you say, Jason, but I talk a little bit about the origin, kind of how we as a group have gotten our start, a little bit about our, I talk about we're like-minded individuals and kind of where we get the Madrona Group name. So you can kind of make any spiel you want on that, but the Madrona tree, it's a Northwest species of tree. It grows along the coastlines. It has really deep roots. And I always say it's also very highly adaptable. So we thought, hey, what a great name. Sounds a lot better than Jason and Joe Group. Make a little joke, whatever you want to do there. But just have a little, because I have had that question, like, why do you guys call yourself the Madrona Group? Actually, great question. If you don't know, then you should have you should definitely have something ready about that.
Absolutely. And you're right. It is, it's an indigenous plant, like you mentioned, right? So it's grown here, right? Local, and people love local. It's got strong roots. It grows by the water. I always joke, I want to sell all my homes by the water, but that doesn't happen. But, it's goals, right? So things like that. So yeah, talk about the tree, talk about the Madrona, and you don't really need to talk about us here. There is a page, but it's just people like to kind of know the whole story. And the point of each and every slide is not so much that you have a specific way of presenting. We'll show you ours, and you can watch the videos and you can hear all the things, and like through doing your presentations, you'll pick up little cues from people. And so like when you're talking with somebody and it makes them smile or laugh, and you'll remember that, and like, oh, I'd like to say that again next time, and so you can kind of develop your own style. No, not you can, you should develop your own style. These are meant to be like, just sort of cues, like, oh yeah, here's where I talk about the Madrona Group. Maybe I talk about the tree more, maybe you love the poem. We picked that poem and it's a very popular poem, but we've kind of picked that to sort of associate with our business model. And maybe you like to talk about, like, if one of us, or maybe like, if like Chris's family, maybe he likes to say, hey, we're family, whatever it is about the screen. It's not so important that you have a specific thing you want to talk about. It's just, this is the part where you sort of talk about, okay, the Madrona Group, which is powered by John L. Scott. We have 2 locations and our top 1% team. It's founded by Joe and Jason. They had a vision, and the Madrona Group and the Madrona tree, and et cetera, right? So just a little bit there. And you don't want to get carried away with this screen either, because it's not so important who or what we are. It's just good that they kind of know, what we're about. So this is personalized to Joe and myself, right? But if it's you, it should be personalized to you. So first I'm introducing the company, and then I'm introducing myself, but I'm introducing myself in a way that's relatable, right? I don't want to show nothing but me in a suit, posing in front of houses, or all of my headshots, or, things like this, because then people see me as a cheesy salesperson, right? And so I want to just be a regular dude. And so, we just pick these pictures, and I'll always talk about, hey, we like sports, we got families, we love volunteering, and, we love handing keys to people. I don't know what that's about, whatever. So some kind of a little joke for you. But the idea is they kind of look and they go, oh, that's relatable. Oh, like I have a family. Oh, I like the Seahawks, or whatever, your things are. Chris, what do you do on yours?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just humanizing yourself. And, like Jason said, this isn't something that you have to go like deep into. I just have a 10-second thing, right? So I'm just like, hey, I'm a father of 2, actually my fiance, we're partners. We work in this business together. I love hiking with my golden retriever, and, we take fitness pretty seriously, or whatever, just a 10-second kind of humanize yourself. These are some candid photos, just to show you, although it feels like it's not real estate all the time, and we do recharge our batteries and whatever you want to say, right?
Yeah. And, the point of this is I don't want them getting to the end of this and thinking of me as a salesperson. I want them to think of me as a peer. And so now we're just talking as 2 people doing business, right? So this next screen is a social proof, right? And the saying goes, 1 person is a theory, 2 people is a fact. Okay. So when I'm presenting myself, if I just say to you, I'm trustworthy, I'm a really good salesperson, I can sell houses really good. Okay, great. That just sounds like a commercial, right? But if I can show you, look at all these people trusted me, and these folks here had all these wonderful things to say about me. And then if you go onto Google and you Google the Madrona Group or, myself, you'll see 5-star reviews all over the place. This is just really cementing, that yes, we are a professional group with a ton of experience that typically people find have a really great experience with, right? So, yeah. Anything
and
you
have your digital assets all on point, right? As up to date as you can with all your reviews. I think it's really, really important. And this is also inviting them to, check that out, kind of vet you on their own. This is why it's powerful to send it ahead of time so they know, oh, okay, let me actually Google this guy. I haven't even, done that yet. And then it invites them also to, if you ever feel like you're not getting that 5-star service, that you would please let us know, because we want to correct it in real time. We take service really, really seriously here at the Madrona Group. So, that's why we are able to get all these 5-star reviews. So just inviting you to be brutally honest with me.
Yeah. And, one of my go-to jokes on this is that if at any point you don't feel like you're getting 5-star service, I'll let Joe know and we'll correct that.
Loves that too.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, this screen is pretty important. Oh, what if you don't have all these pictures? And what if you don't have your own 5-star reviews yet? Right. And that is where we lean on the team. That's where we lean on our office. That's where we lean on our brand. Right. And so we can still craft something on this. And, if you are, running under like the Team TMG name, well, that's real easy. You just see our team, this is just all of our team, my team, this is how I'd say it. My team, as you can see, my team is this, my team. Right. And so I would lean on that heavily. And then I might get through this screen just a little bit faster so they can't see that my picture isn't in any of those pictures. But you can also, if you aren't on a team, right, you can lean on your office. Hey, my office, my office, and you can see my office. So anyway, ways to get around it until you have built up your own. But this should be something that you work on as an agent, right, is getting that social proof so that you can have that. And you'll be amazed at how often people already know, like I'll get to this screen and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen, I've already researched you or whatever. So.
Yeah. And then actually lean on the brand, John L. Scott. It actually segues right into this slide. And you talk about how hyper local you are, how we have a 3rd-generation CEO. He was actually voted the 29th most influential person in real estate last year. That, he's very, very heavily involved with all the market reports and the data. So, kind of segues nicely into that. Brand, team, group, all that stuff. You have resources here at John L. Scott, Ballard, Westwood, and Team TMG.
Yep. And, so and on this slide, I love talking about living life as a contribution. That's Lennox's mantra, if you will. And I think it really aligns with, what we as a group also think. And so I really like to focus on that. And then maybe I'll even share some of the ways that we give back through the year. Right. And I think it's important to people that they know that you're not just in this, we're not just doing this for profit. Right. And don't get me wrong, there's profit involved, but we want to give back to our communities. So, and then, and then you can just kind of show them like, oh, okay, we're, John L. Scott's a big brand here in the Pacific Northwest. All right. So this is my favorite screen. Right. And is my favorite screen because this is the whole thing is all about this. And if you don't know that already or don't believe it, try leaving it out from time to time. And I think you'll see that like people want to know what it is that you're going to bring to the table as an agent. Like, why would I choose you? I have so many choices. And now here you are in front of me. I've given you 20 minutes of my time. Tell me why, right? And so that's my favorite screen. Chris, how do you handle this screen? And keep in mind, on Chris's screen, it does not show me and Joe, or Joe and I. It shows Chris, and on your screen it should show you. But anyway, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so on this screen, I have a variation. I have a couple different, but usually it's actually myself, Ashley, and Josiah. So that's my unique value proposition. I'm going to find you the right home for the right price. The faster I'm able to get into these homes, the better I'm able to help you. So I have a couple different partners that can help you to get into homes, because, schedules are busy. We want to make sure that we're, getting you into the homes on your schedule. We're going to use our local expertise, so our hyper local expertise, and we're going to be able to pinpoint exactly what neighborhood you want to live in. And I also talk a little bit about that as far as the ability to find off-market properties and crunch data on the MLS to see, if there was any sellers in a neighborhood that you really wanted to live in that would sell for a certain price. So oftentimes some of the best homes are sold off market. Did you know that? And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then the fierce negotiation skills. So when you find the one that you want, negotiation for me, I like to approach it, collaboratively, collectively, and connecting, right? And more on a curious tone than being like a bully or approaching it like a zero-sum game. So I kind of give them a little idea of my negotiation styles, and how that's going to benefit you is I'm able to foster relationships with all sorts of agents that I do transactions with on a yearly basis. And oftentimes those agents are the ones we see over and over again. So if we're able to get, two parties that would otherwise not work together to come to an agreement and, make sure it feels like a win-win. So I'll talk about those things. Those are just a couple word tracks. You guys, customize it for what feels right and genuine for yourself.
Yeah. And Chris, that's a mouthful, and he can present that all well. He's been working on it a long time. And so, and he does have some of those things that he can lean on. What if you don't have those things that you can lean on? Right. And then what if you don't think you're a fierce negotiator yet? Right. Or what if you moved here and you don't think that you have local expertise? So these are valid questions, but there's real answers to them. One of them is it doesn't take much to drive around, look at listings, look at maps, and research areas to become like a local expert. Because honestly, it's funny is like, when you go to somebody's town and you want to go like see something cool that like you wanted to see in that town, and then you ask the people that live there and you're like, hey, where's this cool thing to see in your town? And everybody's like, oh, I don't know, I've never been there. Right. And so like the average person really isn't just a local expert, even if they've grown up there. Maybe they know their block really well or something, but so you can become a local expert pretty easily. And then same with negotiation skills, but that will come in time, but you have resources, right? So again, lean on your team, lean on your accountability partner, lean on your office, right? So but you do want to, I think you want to touch on these things to let people know that these are important to you. And really what this is saying is I'm not trying to just get you into the first house we see, or I'm not going to try to force you into buying something that you don't want in an area you don't like, and try to make you pay more money than you want to pay. Right. That's not my job. My job is to find you the house that you want. So like, at some point they'll look at you. Josiah, I was just talking to Patty a couple days ago, and she was telling me about how, she was looking, and then she walked into that condo and she looked at you and she said, this is the one I want. Right. And this will always happen. They're always going to look at you. This is the one I want. And you'll know, okay, this is the one. And so I want to help you find that one. And then your negotiation skills, well, we're going to teach you how to do that. But honestly, with what we teach all the time in the morning, just having good communication skills is really like probably sets us apart from about 60% of all agents out there. So you're probably a much better negotiator than most other agents out there already, just because we're teaching you communication skills, So anyway.
I was thinking too, John L. Scott has a bunch of community spotlight videos, great resource, give you like a 1 or 2 minute clip on like pretty much.
You
Yeah,
know
I mean,
what? That's actually, you're right. If you look through that community video highlights, there's a link on our agent resources page, and you just watched each one of those videos.
yep.
What's her name? Erin does a little commentary for each one that gives you sort of the highlights of the area, So, and then like I was showing Henry yesterday, if you want school information, like if you look on the Redfin app, they give you the school information for every listing. They just use what's called great schools, right?
Mhm.
So, that's what the standard is out there. So, you look at an area, look at the great schools, look at the school ratings, yeah, maybe watch one of those videos, go do a little drive around before you get to an area. Boom, you're pretty knowledgeable at that point.
Yeah, little extra step service. There's those listings out there that says buyer to verify. Check out the schools if it's important for them, ahead of time, and just say, actually, I did a little research on your behalf. These, are the XYZ schools in this area. Thought you'd want to know because little Billy, is probably going to be going to school at this elementary. It shows that you care. It shows that you're listening, and it's extra step service,
Absolutely. So this screen is actually twofold. One, it's a little bit more social proof, right? Just shows that the team does a lot of transactions, buyers and sellers, right? Because here's the thing, people don't know how real estate works. Don't assume that your friends and your family understand what a real estate agent's job is. They do not. Most of them have really no idea. They're like, well, I think you work on commission, but some people might think, oh, you only work with buyers, or some people might think you only work with sellers. Okay, so this screen shows, nope, look, we work with buyers and sellers, so we're good there. And then a lot of people think we only work in the area of which our office name is located, right? So you're John L. Scott Ballard. Oh, you must only work in Ballard. Oh, no, as you can see, we go all up and down the I-5 corridor. We'll go as far over as, Heron Island, all the way down there. And if you ever been there, whatever, have your little word tracker. You see, we go all the way over here to Wenatchee and Plain. So, we do business all over the Puget Sound. Our license will work anywhere. Now, typically, I'm not interested in working over on the other side of the mountains, but I can get referrals, and I can have relationships over there. So there's always a way to monetize it. But this screen is just to show people, one, we do a lot of business with buyers and sellers, and we can service your real estate needs, pretty much as far as it's drivable. So you have anything to add to that one, or?
No, yeah, this is just, again, social proof and the power of relationships. Sometimes I'll throw in the word track. Did you know that 80% of the business is done by about 20% of the agents out there? So, I end up running into these same listing agents. And when I'm the listing agent, I run into the same buyer's agents. So, oftentimes that can be the difference between you getting your offer accepted if it's, a really, really competitive situation, or at least the last bite of the apple, because they know that we bring well-qualified buyers that are prepared and, ready to go.
Cool. Good addition. All right. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of what's important to them, right? And so everything up to that point has been, trying to get them introduced to us and how we work and what we bring and our value and everything. So now we're getting into, okay, here's what you're really here for, So this is where their interest will start to peak up a little bit. But and we borrowed a lot of this from the John L. Scott home buying guide, of which, if you want to just use there straight up, you can. We just sort of added a little bit of customization from the team in office. But if you are just a John L. Scott, or if you're a John L. Scott agent and want to use their system, it's pretty good. And you're going to get all this stuff too, right? Obviously, we borrowed it. So here's the home proven home buying strategy, and it's the 6 strategies for today's housing market. So first of all, we're going to talk about what's important to you. Okay, we're going to define your goals and expectations. We're going to talk about the home search. We're going to talk about some key market strategies. We're going to talk about financing your home, your trusted advisor and advocate. Hopefully that's me, and the home purchase process. Right. So sound good? Yes. Okay. Now we're into what we wanted to talk about. I know I put you through all that other stuff. I'm sorry. Okay. What's important to you? Define your goals and expectations, right? And this is the wants and needs analysis. All right, Chris, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of some of the discovery, right? We want to figure out exactly what they need in a house. So I talk about, and it says here must-haves and wants, but so must-haves and nice-to-haves, right? So it must have this, or we will absolutely not consider looking at the place. Keep in mind, little side note, things change. Always be checking in with your buyer, especially location. It seems to be the one that I feel like, oh my goodness, like I wasn't even in the radius of where you're looking. Sure, we can go take a look at that home. But checking in to see if anything's changed on this criteria is always a best practice. But must-haves are like, would not even consider looking at the place unless it had XYZ. I kind of try to define a little bit deeper. This is really becomes an organic conversation. So, bedrooms, like it says here, why do you need 4 bedrooms? I'm not going to say it that way, but are you going to use the bedrooms all for, either guest rooms or people's rooms, or are you going to need like maybe an office or a den? Really important, because on the MLS, as we all know, and if you don't know, if you put there can be rooms that are non-conforming. So if there's no window or no closet, or a combination of both of those, it's not considered a room. So you could find something that would work for their need based off something that you would otherwise miss out on if you X that away from the search. Does that make sense, everybody? Sorry.
Yeah, it does. And there's strategy behind that, because now instead of me putting in their search 4-bedroom, 3-bath, which is going to be produce hardly any results at all, I can put in 3-bedroom. Maybe, hey, when you say 3 baths, I mean, does every one of them have to have a bath, a shower, and a sink and a toilet? Or could we, like as a powder room in one, okay, and maybe just a walk-in shower in the other? Oh, okay, great. So that gets rid of, 1.5 or 1.25 baths. So then I can put in the search 3-bedroom, 2.25 baths. And now we've just got probably 5-6 more options to choose from. And in those 3 bedrooms, one of them might have a bonus room or a den or whatever else they call it that could accommodate the needs of being an office or a playroom or whatever they're going to use it for, right? So if we get too granular with those searches, they're going to end up getting frustrated, because they're going to say, well, nothing's coming up, and like, oh, it's because you've gotten a little bit too specific. So we want to try. The whole point of this is to try to sort of broaden the search horizons, because just trying to pick out, like, if I'm just hardcore, oh, it has to be 4 bedrooms, but one of them is an office, you're missing all the 3 bedrooms with dens that maybe have a better office than a bedroom, right?
Yep.
So
exactly. And take this, that's not to say that we don't take the time to really go deep with our clients on this one. It's just we keep it broad in the beginning, because we don't want to miss out on something that might otherwise work. Right. So, define the layout. Like, hey, in an ideal world, what would the layout look like? Would you want all the bedrooms upstairs? Do you need one on the bottom with shower access, like multi-generational, so you can have no stairs for a guest? Or get really deep on this. And then the last thing we talk about is like the community, what's important about the location, what they need in amenities and stuff. And then that's where you can really shine in being a local expert. If you know the areas, oh yeah, I know a great restaurant over there, some good Indian food, or, whatever. And let them really know that you know the area, and, you're going deep on all that, and remembering it, right? Bringing it back up as we're searching through.
Yeah. And then one thing that Joe and I like to really touch on with this as well, especially if you're working with a couple, 2 people in any relationship form, 2 people's ideas of what something is can be vastly different, right? And so, a large yard to one person who grew up in the city is going to be a lot different than a large yard from somebody who grew up maybe in a rural area, right? And so, like, having this ability for them to kind of talk through, well, what is a large yard mean to you as a group, right? And so, figuring out a lot of that stuff ahead of time will can save you a ton of wasted time as you're sending what you believe to be large yards, an acre, or I don't know, whatever and then there's like what you think is a large yard, so Yeah. So really drilling down and figuring out what that stuff means.
Absolutely. On this, sorry. Oh, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
you good.
I was going to say on this lately, what I've been doing is kind of going over the wants and needs from the last page. So I like summarize it, based on size, style, condition, location. What do you do, Jason? I was going to ask you on this because this seems a little redundant because I've gone so deep on the last slide. Tell me about.
It's true. I'll just check off, right? Because I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, well, we already talked about, sounds like you guys are a single family home. And I'm guessing just kind of from our what we were just talking about a minute ago, maybe a traditional or a craftsman. Do you have a preference though? Oh, you would like a modern. Okay, very good. Yeah, we'll definitely keep our eye open for that. And then, but condition is the sort of the big one that I like to talk about on this one, because a lot of people will start off saying, yeah, I have no problem with a fixer upper, right? And that's, again, this is very subjective. Like, what is a fixer upper? What's a fixer upper to you? What's a fixer upper to the agent? What's a fixer upper, right? And so what I'll find is a lot of times the same people that are like, yeah, I'd like a fixer upper if we can save some money. Okay, great. And then we'll go out and we'll maybe look at 2 or 5 houses, and one of them was a fixer upper, and maybe one of them's new construction, and we'll walk in the new construction and they'll always say something like, man, I just don't know what it is, but I just really like this one a lot better. Like, yeah, well, this says it's already updated and beautiful, right? And so, what do you guys think? Do you want a fixer upper, or are you thinking more move-in ready? And so I just like to kind of figure out where exactly they're at in that way.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then we can talk about location. So, you really mentioned, Edmonds a lot, and that's great. And I definitely want to throw Edmonds in the search. There's not a whole lot of inventory out there at all right now, but, maybe if we threw in some of the neighboring cities, I don't know, does Mukilteo, Shoreline, possibly Linwood, definitely not Linwood. Okay. But maybe I'd look at Mukilteo, maybe you'd look at Shoreline. I mean, just for fun, if something popped up, we could at least go, take a peek. Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Let's throw that in the search just so we can have some stuff to look at. Right. All right. So this screen is about the fact that we're going to send them listings on the MLS. Okay. And this is sort of like, to me, this is when we sort of bind the relationship. This is like, okay, now we're not playing with all the portals anymore. It's just, it's just us and you. We're in the MLS and we're going to go find a home together. And I like them using the MLS because I can see what they're doing. And I'll tell them, look, here's the deal. Me as an agent, if I get a new listing, what I have to do is enter all that data manually into the MLS. Okay. And then as soon as I hit publish, it's instantly on the MLS and shoots out to all the agents, including, myself or you and all the people that are searching. So it is the fastest, most accurate data on the internet. Everybody else gets it secondarily. Everybody. So this is the best. Now, if you want to keep looking on Redfin or Zillow or whatever else you're using, no problem. Keep doing that. But I'm going to set up your search here on the MLS, and then I'm going to pay attention. So when you see stuff you like, make sure you hit the heart button for me. If you don't like it, hit the garbage button. If you want to put notes in there, that's great. But this is how how I'd like us to communicate with our listings. Is that going to work for you?
Sounds good. Yeah, that works. Now, couple things that I wanted to find. Now, if it's an online lead, you're just meeting them, you're just trying to establish rapport and trust and everything like that. Make sure to let them know. Just so you know, you don't have to request any more tours on Zillow or Redfin. I'm going to be your direct source, right? I can look at any of those things, and that way you don't have to retell your story to a new agent. I know exactly what you're looking for. This is why we're taking the time right now to get really prepared. Real estate can be really stressful or it can be really fun, and the difference is the preparation. This is why we're doing this right now. So just really make sure you go over that. I don't want we try to reduce the amount of heartbreak in real estate, right? So, and the other thing is Ashley, if you're able to talk right now, I'm not sure where you're at, but we like to set up in the beginning, the search to automatically go out to the clients. Right now, when we start to get to know them a little bit better, Ashley, you have these alerts, right? That you get an email that says, hey, a house has met your client's criteria, and then you can review it ahead of time and then decide to send it as a one-off. Why is that important? Because it shows, hey, I'm thinking about you at any time of the day because I'm looking for that special home. I'm going to send you just a single one that I know works really well. Can you tell us about that, Ash?
Yeah, definitely it gives them a little personal touch for sure. The other reason why I think it's useful is that, some people will say that they want new home, but then they'll say, well, an older home is fine as long as it's been updated. So instead of sending them all homes, for example, at year 1960, I want to make sure I can go through them and make sure they're updated before I send them to them, because I think that shows that you're also, having that second pair of eyes on the market for them.
Cool. Yeah. And that's a great personal touch. And then if you don't know, so that's the difference between auto send and concierge mode, right?
Correct.
So when you're creating those MLS searches and it asks you, I forget where it is, but at some point it'll ask you, do you want to do an auto send or do you want to do concierge mode? If you do auto send, it'll send everything as soon as it comes out that matches that search criteria. If you do concierge mode, it will back it up, and then you go through manually and decide which ones to send, right?
Yeah, and I think, the other thing too is not everybody runs to their email, right? But if they know that their agent will contact them, because I'll go, hey, I just saw a new home in Arlington pop up for you. I just sent it to you, or I'll send it through the John L. Scott app as well. I think that during times where the market is hot and there's multiple offer situations, I think that's very useful too.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Good personal touch. Okay, so this is the only screen that you will have to have kind of know a little bit about, like what's kind of going on besides using the screen to guide you, right? So in order for us to talk about the health of the market, we kind of need to know where it is. It's not so important that you know exactly the health as it stands today. Well, as a matter of fact, there's no such thing as knowing what that is. All real estate data is a month behind. But every month, Lennox does us a huge favor, and he does the housing market updates, and he tells us exactly what the health of the market is. I also will do my end of the month report and video, and so does a lot of people out there. And so this information is very easy to find. So make sure that you're getting that information and that you're just kind of tucking it away in the memory banks a little bit. And then this slide becomes very easy, right? So if we want to interpret the data, in this case, it's the sales activity intensity. We would just want to know basically what is our urgency level. And our urgency level will be dependent upon whether it's a buyer's market, a seller's market, or are we just sort of in the middle, right? And what determines a buyer's market and what determines a seller's market is typically the inventory level, okay? So you need to have a rough idea of what the inventory level is at any given time. So in Seattle for last month, it was 1.2 months of supply, and Snohomish County was 0.7 months of supply, okay?
Crazy.
And so we want to have that in, like those two numbers, you should kind of know those numbers. All right. So now when I'm talking about this, I can say, okay, so over the last 9 months, we got our inventory levels up to the 2 and 3 months of supply. We almost got into almost got into a buyer's market a little bit with so much inventory, and you could feel it, right? Over the summer and over the winter, there was more listings to look at. Almost every single listing went for, probably under price, or we got seller concessions. We got to get all of our contingencies. It was wonderful for buyers. And then spring hit. And also we did finally start seeing a little bit of relief with the interest rates, right? So this is where I can talk about all that interest rate information I'm getting from Leah and Luke every month, right? We got a little bit of relief with the interest rate. So the combination of the spring market and a little bit of relief on the interest rates, that inventory has pretty much gone away. And so what we can say then is a buyer's market is going to be more than 5 months of inventory. We're at 1 and 0.7, and a seller's market is 3 to 4 months or less. So we're technically in a seller's market right now, right? So there's less selection, more buyer competition, and a potential for multiple offer situations. All right. So, okay, well, Jason, then are you telling me it's not a good time to buy? Well, no, I'm not saying that either. Here's what we want to do. If we don't want to get stuck in one of these multiple offer situations, not every listing is doing that. This isn't as bad as it was a year or for the last 2 years, where every single house is getting 20 offers and it's escalating up out of control. That's not where we're at today. We are seeing some bidding wars. We are seeing some premium pricing, but nothing like what it was. So one of the things I will recommend to you, if you don't want to get into that, is we want to look at listings that have been on the market for 7 to 10 days, right? Now that does limit the amount that we can look at, and it's a strategy. And here's what will happen. They're still going to want to go look at the ones that have only been on the market 1 day, and you should, because we're never sure which ones are going to end up with the multiple offer situation. But it is my job as your negotiation specialist to make sure that I can try to get that house and keep you out of that situation the best as I can, right? So anyway, being able to talk about the market and explain. Now, what this does is it sets the expectation, right? We can't sit around and wait for the listings. We do have to be back on sort of high alert. And when something does meet our search criteria, we probably want to get out there as fast as possible. We do want to get back to, definitely pre-approvals, which honestly, that should be one of the first things that we're doing with our buyers, is trying to get them pre-approved, but maybe getting back to fully underwritten again. We need to start having some of the talks about, what waiving of the contingencies look like, what escalation clauses look like, some of these kind of things. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about, Chris?
Yeah, no, I mean, this one, because if you set this one up right, you segue into the other two things, which are the financing slide and the preparing and negotiation slide. So I like how you touched on that. If we want to avoid the multiple offer situations, let's focus on things that have been on the market for anywhere from 7 to 10 days and the brand new listings that are coming on. Let's make sure we get into those as quickly as possible. And then I talk about the 3 key indicators. And so I go, supply, right? So this is essentially a supply and demand industry, right? So that really drives the real estate market. So I talk about inventory. I talk about sales intensity, right? The percentage of listings that go pending in the first 30 days. And then I talk about interest rate. And so right when I say an interest rate, and that's why it's really important for you too. And then I click to the next screen. But this is really giving you any market, doesn't matter. This page will address any market. It just, you just have to kind of know a little bit where we're at.
Yeah. And this is the big variable, right? This is the one that changes. So like my buyer consultation from 2 years ago is completely different than my buyer consultation this last winter is completely different from the buyer consultation from today, right? So today I'm going to tell you, like, we're not definitely going to get stuck in a multiple offer situation, but we could, right? And so like, we'll just want to have our feelers out for that. And if you want to know about sales activity intensity, that's also another number. Again, Lennox puts this out every month. I also bring it out there, but in King County right now, or Seattle, it's 61.5% of new listings go pending in the first 30 days, right? So that's a surge bordering on a frenzy market. And in Snohomish County, it's 65 point something, I forget. So it is in a frenzy market, right? So and this is a scale of how quickly homes sell. So this is about urgency, right? So during the winter months, we got down into like the 35, 40 range. And so, we had some time kind of sit around, think about listings. We could get out there day 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. But now we're back up into these much faster moving market. So kind of got to get out there and have our strategy set. So, and yes, and then we segue right into mortgage ready day one. And again, this is a very important screen, more important today than it was 4 months ago, but always important. And this is the one, I always tell people, okay, we're going to talk about financing. So are you, planning on buying the home for cash, or will you need a bank to help, finance this, right? And typically they're going to say a bank, but, and sometimes they'll say cash, and that's great. Okay, cool. Have you talked to a lender or anybody about getting pre-approved yet? Maybe yes, maybe no, typically no. Okay, well, it's funny. So one of the first things that we actually need to do is to get pre-approved, but people will typically come to the real estate agent first, and I don't blame them, because mortgage lenders are boring, and the whole process is really boring. So good thing you found us at first, right? Or whatever, right? So I have some joke about it. But then I'll explain sort of these scenarios. So a pre-qualification. You know what a pre-qualification is? It just means that you went on the internet, you said, I make $1 million a year and my credit score is 800. And they said, oh, fantastic, you're approved for a $5 million house. Okay. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. And so we don't worry about pre-qualifications in this industry. So a pre-approval is now I actually have to provide the documents like my W-2 and a credit report to show what my income is and what my credit score is. And based off of that, your lender will give you a pre-approval. So this is the bare minimum that we need to start shopping. And but the next step, and if we have time, and I'll set you up this way, but you never know how fast we move. It does take a little bit longer to get fully underwritten. But if we do have the time, I'd like you to keep moving forward with the lender and go ahead and get fully underwritten. And that's where you'll have to provide a little bit more documentation, and the lender will take it to their underwriting team and get final approval from underwriting that, yes, they are going to finance this loan. And with this, we're almost as good as cash in our negotiation ability, and that'll set us up for success. So, Chris, what do you talk about on this one?
Yeah, that's, a lot of the same word tracking there. I also mentioned that, you haven't had an opportunity. Great. So the next step, usually what I like to do is connect my preferred lender, somebody that my clients love and trust, have done dozens and dozens of transactions with, has a really, really great array of loan products for anybody, and they just focus on mortgages, right? So it's not like a big bank where they have many different products. These guys are local and they specialize, and that's why we like to use them. So I'll kind of vet my lending team there a little bit for them and just say, hey, the next step is to connect us on a 3-way text. So I'll do that right after this meeting. Does that sound good? Yep, sounds good. Okay, perfect. And then, it gives them an opportunity to see your relationship with the lender as well, and how important and fast to respond they are, because they are. Our lending partner at Priority, Dave, Bryce, and Leah, they're amazing. They respond very quickly, which is really important for these newer leads. But it also just shows that they're really committed to the client experience too.
Absolutely. And we're a team, right? You have them right on your speed dial. I'm texting them right now, and now they're responding. Like, it feels very like, it feels like that warm hug. Joe always talks about giving them the warm hug, and it feels like that. Like, oh, okay, now I have these folks and they're working for me. This is amazing. I didn't even have to go walk into a bank, take a number, sit in that silly little chair in the corner, click on a pen that they give me, wonder like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. What do I do? Right? Like, no, we're taking care of you. So it's just a really good feeling. So. Okay. Then the next one is about you, right? It's about picking you. Pick me, pick me, pick me. And so we got the lending set up, and I know we kind of talked about the team and stuff, but we didn't really sell us, the agent, yet. And so, now it's about picking your trusted advisor and who that's going to be, right? And we talk about what you're going to do as your trusted advisor. I'm going to help you analyze. So first thing, right, is I'm going to analyze, I'm going to do a CMA to make sure that you're not overpaying, right? And that kind of goes back to our unique value proposition. Okay, finding the right house for the right price. And then I'm going to guide you through selecting the appropriate paperwork and negotiate. Oh, wait, this is just all revalidating our unique value proposition, So I'm going to do the CMA. We're going to figure out a price. We're going to figure out the price and the terms that are favorable to you or that you can live with. And then I'm going to present those to the other team and negotiate on your behalf to get that done.
Yeah, and I say at this one too, I talk about the three major hurdles to any real estate transaction are inspection, appraisal, and financing. So for the seller, if it's a competitive situation, it's about risk mitigation, but there are very creative ways for me to protect you through all those contingencies, but also mitigate the risk for the seller. See, that makes us come together with a win, but so you're always getting favorable terms. I think the CMA is a great thing to put in there. That's I think a really awesome resource. Everybody wants to feel like they're not overpaying. You can address it in appraisal, right? You can say, the appraisal process makes sure the bank never lets you overpay for a property, but we've already done that ahead of time to make sure that the data supports our offer price, whatever you want to kind of say there. But you're making sure they realize that you're just on their team, right?
Yeah.
So whatever's going to make it a win for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things we'll get probably carried away as we're talking about stuff, but I will never say CMA to a client.
No,
Nobody has any idea what that means.
Right.
Do they even really know what a comparable market analysis is? No, not really. Right. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the information from the most recent comparable properties. That's how we and appraisers both determine the value of a home. So I'm going to do that and then make sure that it aligns with the price here that they have on this home for you. And I'll share that data with you. Right. It's something to that extent. So we never want to use that lingo because people will be like, what's a CMA? And it feels like you're talking down to them. So.
Yeah, it sounds clinical. I think, it's just real estate speak. Only us, because I'm talking to a bunch of real estate agents now, know what that means. But, just explaining, it's not a consultation, right? It's a breakdown of these things, right? It's not a CMA. It's just, I'm going to check and make sure that what we're offering is, right for the market value. You're just telling them what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'll emphasize, like, you realize it's me, right? I determine the value of real estate out there, the real estate agent, right? We do that through this process and da. And so I will do that for your property to make sure that agent didn't make a mistake,
Uh-huh.
Okay. This one is a fun one. This is the buying process. And especially if you have a first-time home buyer, this is going to be the screen that they really enjoy the most, because a first-time home buyer and even somebody that hasn't done it in 10, 15 years, or most everybody, I don't think anybody really remembers exactly the process, and like they're buying properties left and right. But this is the screen that people really enjoy because it really maps out exactly how this is going to go down. Right. And so it starts with today, and that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about market strategies. Right. And then we're going to create your home search. I'm going to do that as soon as we're done with this meeting, based off that information I got from you, from your wants and needs analysis and everything we've talked about. Right. And then we start to negotiate price and terms. And that's going to be when we're out there and you look at me and you say, yeah, Jason, this is the one. And I'm going to try to make that happen for you and get you the price and terms that are favorable for you. And then if they accept those terms, we'll go into what's called mutual, and then we'll have a signed and actionable purchase and sale that we'll move forward with. And
signed,
then
actionable, and legally binding contract that we've all agreed upon. So they know that there's like hey, we're starting the clock ticker, right?
Yep.
So we got to meet these timelines.
Okay, now here's the one that most everybody has questions with. So I spent a couple of, this one's the one I want to detail a little bit. All right, from then we'll have 2 business days to get your earnest money turned in. Okay, so are you familiar with earnest money, Chris?
Kind of, yeah, I think so. I mean, like a deposit.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's sort of a good faith deposit we'll put down toward the house. Now, the good thing about earnest money is it's not in addition to the down payment. It will go towards the final price of the home. So it's not additional money. It's just a little something we're putting ahead of time to let people know that we have some skin in the game. And it is going to be always refundable until it's not, but that's my job, is to oversee that. And if at any point we get to where your earnest money might be at risk, I want to make that abundantly clear to you, and you will know exactly why and have the decision to make that. But until you tell me that I want to put my earnest money at risk, it's my job to protect that, and that's what I'm going to do for you.
Yeah, I talk a little bit about like what good earnest money is in this market. Typically recommend between 1.5% to 3% on this, depending, on, your available funds, just to show a strong interest.
Yeah. And they'll ask, well, how much do you think it might be, and I'd say, well, I'd expect to probably do somewhere between 10 and 20, but we'll determine it once we pick the property and depending on, what the interest level is and what we're up against. But okay. And then the loan application. This is a little confusing because people are like, wait a minute, I thought I did the loan application before when I got pre-approved. Well, excuse me, the bank can't actually finalize doing their loan application until they have an address. So once we get a home in contract and it gets sent over to the lender, they'll send that to the underwriting team. And once they have an address, that's when they'll finalize the loan application. And then we get to contingencies. And contingencies, that's going to be stuff like HOA review. It's going to be the home inspection. It's going to be appraisal. It's going to be, neighborhood review. There's all kinds of different contingencies, but we will definitely keep you in the loop on all of those. And it's my job again. And I might even talk about Maida a little bit here because I use a transaction coordinator, and she's going to lay out all the dates and deadlines of the contingencies. So you know exactly where we are in that process, but it's my job to make sure that we don't miss any of those deadlines and that I, walk you through each contingency. And this is where I might take some time to talk about the market a little bit. One of the things that we're seeing now, again, because you remember I showed you in that last screen where inventory is really low and that we're in the possibility of having some multi-bid scenarios, it is possible that we might be asked to waive some of those contingencies in order to be competitive with other potential buyers. Now, waiving your contingencies is never a good idea as a buyer. And if you ask me, should I do this? I'm going to tell you, I don't know. All I can do is tell you when that is something that would be needed in order to get the home. And we'll talk about what it looks like to waive a contingency and what risk you would be at. But some of the things that we might waive, for an instance, is the home inspection. And the home inspection is a pretty big contingency. And so as a seller, one of my number one goals is I want to get through the home inspection period. And so oftentimes in a competitive situation, we will be asked to waive our home inspection contingency. If we, do get a home inspection, what that looks like is certain days after the mutual acceptance, usually 3 to 7 or 10 days, we'll hire a home inspector. We'll go through the home, and they'll typically take 3 or 4 hours or so, and they'll put together a whole report of everything that's wrong with the house. And based off of that information, we'll be able to decide how we want to move forward. But we'll have the option of, walking away altogether. If we're like, oh, that's just way too much. And yes, you do get your earnest money back if that happens. Or we could say, you know what, that came back exactly as we thought, and we're happy with this deal. Let's just move forward as is. Or what's most likely to happen is one or two things will really jump out at us, and we'll ask to either have them repaired by the homeowner, or we'll ask for some cash back in the deal to fix them once we've taken possession. You want to do the appraisal? Oh, you're gone. So the appraisal process, so that's the next one. Now, the home inspection and the appraisal are similar, except for the home inspector is for you, the appraiser is for the bank. And so the bank's going to send somebody by, and they're going to determine if the value of the home is worth the amount that you're asking to get financing for. So this is just where they determine, hey, is this are we going to finance this home for the price that you paid? A couple things can happen here. Most likely thing that happens, the appraisal comes back at value and we move forward, everybody's happy. Every once in a blue moon, the appraisal comes back higher than what we paid for it, and then you're happy. And then sometimes the appraisal comes back a little bit lower than what we've agreed to pay for it, and we have to either ask the seller to lower the price, or you guys might consider to, you know, increase the price and pay for that difference. But you will have that choice. And again, if we do have to move on from the home at that point, your earnest money is refundable. And then finally, the bank's going to give their final loan approval. They're not going to do that until we get through this home inspection and appraisal process, because these are two very key points. From that point, all the documents and everything will start going to escrow. They collect everything. They start collecting all the monies, and they'll start doing title reviews and make sure that the title is clear from contingencies and encumbrances and such, and make sure that it is actually in liens, to make sure it's a sellable title. And then about a couple days before closing, you're going to get a call from escrow and it's time to sign, and we get super close. And finally, it's sign and close day, and I bring you the keys.
Yay. Best part.
And then we take a picture, another picture of you handing us keys. No, we hand you keys.
And I say at the end of that too, and it segues nicely. Again, I like segues, as you can tell. But it does segue nicely into the next slide, which talks about communication. I say, and you know, it's not over there. You know, I want you to consider me a resource. I'm going to give you yearly updates on the value of your home. We have a ton of different vendors that we really like, that we've all vetted, that we could recommend you if you need any work on the house. You know, everyone's number one complaint with real estate agents is a lack of communication. So, you know, with our transaction coordinator, with all my partners that I have available to you, my ongoing communication, I hope that you never feel it's that way. Always feel you can reach out, and I'll update you on whatever is needed during the transaction and after.
All right. And that is the presentation. And so, you know, we always talk about how you want to end this. And I'll tell you, my preferred method is I'm just going to now move on to the next step. So I'm the assumptive close guy. I just we just went through all this together. You agreed to do this. I'm very capable. You're very capable. Let's do this together. And so say, okay, I'm going to communicate with you well. Great. Now here's the next step. What I'm going to go ahead and do is set you up on the MLS search like we talked about. I'm going to go ahead and pick out a few properties, and maybe you can do it. What do you guys think about go ahead and starting a search this weekend, or when do you have some time? Does Saturday or Sunday work better for you?
Saturday.
Saturday's better. Okay, cool.
Saturday.
So I'm going to go ahead and pencil that in right now. We'll find some listings that we want to look at. What I'm going to do is go ahead and follow up maybe Thursday or Friday. I don't know, whatever day it is, and make sure that we do have a few to look at, or maybe I'll put a list together and just verify that we're going to be good. Do you think maybe Saturday around 10 o'clock? Does that work?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and actually send you a calendar invite for that right now. Hold on one sec. Okay, Saturday, 10 o'clock. Okay, very good. Hey, what's the best email addresses to send this calendar invite to?
Ashley@gmail.com.
Okay, awesome, Ashley. And Chris, did you want me to add you on there as well, or do you guys work off of one email?
Yeah, then let her be the boss. She's got it under control.
I kind of figured, yeah. Okay. All right, boom. I just sent it. And did you get that, Ashley? Did you get that calendar invite?
Yep, just got it.
Oh, perfect. All right. Yeah, just go ahead and throw that in your calendar then. And you know, we'll all good. If somehow there's not a single listing to look at, we can go ahead and reschedule that later. But at least we got that set up. And man, I'm super excited to go look at some houses with you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys get practice on this and confident in everything. So Jason's able to pull off the assumptive close because of the confidence. You probably noticed that, right? So there's a confidence, there's a, this is just what we're doing, right? You can always at the end of it. So like, hey, is there any questions that you have for me that we didn't cover? I like to say that, right? Fantastic. Well, would you like me to represent you as the agent on, your next home purchase? Ask them. Ask for the business, right? Fantastic. Then move right into that. You, if you in your business, because this is your business, you're a 1099, you can do what you want. If you would like to use buyer's agency agreements, it's again another word tract, another kind of coverage for you, and also shows your commitment to that client and their commitment to you. If you can get them to sign that, maybe we can do that on a different consultation since we're out of time. But it's a really, really good way of getting buy-in, right? So great. For the next step for us is we're just going to sign an agreement. I'm going to send you a law of real estate pamphlet so you know your rights. And this is just a commitment to you as a client so that I'm taking care of you every step of the way. It is by no means binding. It's a cancelable contract. I don't want to work with anybody that doesn't want to work with me. It's just a really good reminder for you to let me know that you have chosen to work with a different real estate agent. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Right. So it gives them an out. It tells them, hey, this is, you got to let me know if you don't want to work with me. And this is my commitment to you. Just a little side note.
Yep. No, there's lots of different ways to do it. I don't think that there's necessarily a perfect way or a right way. There's your way, as long as you have one. I think the importance is not necessarily what you ask or how you sort of ask for the that relationship at the end, but that you do. One, right? That's important. And two, always have a follow-up, right? Always have a next reason to touch base again. Okay. Don't leave this conversation, especially this, man, if you got them to do all of this and it went well, don't leave this conversation without a follow-up.
You have to have that. You'll be surprised. Do you think that they're just clicking on one site and that there's no other real estate agents, that are potentially helping them? You're fooling yourself. But you have to stand it. So how many of them have actually taken the opportunity to walk you through the process of what it takes to be a successful buyer in this market? That's the difference, right?
Not like this.
Not like this. And why would you want to have to do this again?